Welcome to another episode, Drug Dealers to Businessmen podcast. We are live in the city of Los Angeles. I'm your host, Duane Cofield, and this is the weekly tap in, and I'm tapping in. What's good, family? What it do? It is November 21st. Hope everybody is doing well. Man, we trying to come strong right before the holidays, man. Hope everybody is thankful and appreciative of the positions that they're in life. Life is actually really doing good for some, and those who haven't realized the blessings that they're getting yet, you will do so. This is episode number 3, co-writing the chapters of your life. And the reason why I emphasize co-writing. Oh, for those who are just listening, man, appreciate y'all tapping in. Make sure you put your city in the chat so we can give you a shout out. Hope everybody can hear me nice and clear. So yeah, man, this is episode number 3, man. We are getting there, but this is co-writing the chapters of your life, man. And the reason why I say co-writing is because it is not done by yourself. You do have a co-author, right? But the beauty in it, and we'll talk about that as we proceed, is the fact that you have input and that you can actually have a lot of control. So put that city in there where you tapping in from. We certainly appreciate it, man. What's going on, South Georgia tapping in? Appreciate you, buddy Lee. Hey, man, appreciate the share as well, man. I see everything y'all do, and I just want to say that I appreciate that. It doesn't go unnoticed, homie. So you helping spread the message. You helping spread me. It's not about me and my ego, but it's about the message. So I appreciate that. I really do, man. I could not do it without you. People listening in for the podcast, the replays, whatever, man. I just really, really appreciate you. And I do. That's why I show up, man. I couldn't do it without you guys. And the reason why I tap in on a weekly basis is because God tells me to. Period. You got to go talk to the homies. Hey, man, I'm going to give you something, but you got to go talk to them. About what? I'll let you know. Right? And the reason why I bring that full circle is because one of the things I'm always talking about is how much control we have. What's going on, cuz? I appreciate you tapping in. Memphis in the building. Is how much control and power we have over our future and existence, right? It's kind of blasphemy for people to talk about themselves to the power of, and I hate to say it, God, right? You don't want to even have that kind of conversation because people will say, man, you're talking crazy. You can't do that. People always tell you what you can't do. Right? First of all, with God, anything is possible. And I know people throw that term out there generically and loosely. But I tell you, man, anybody who's been in the game, right? Anybody who's been behind, some incredible circumstances, you've seen it. You've noticed it, you've witnessed it, you've peeped it, right? You've seen the power of God, right? The the thing that you didn't do, though, a lot of us miss is we don't think that we can write our destiny. We don't think that we can pretty much tell the universe and life what we want out of it. We don't think that that's possible. We up there, we give all kind of power to so many other circumstances, people, whatever's, right? When you walk out of the house, what kind of intention and purpose are you on? When I look back and talk about the authorship of your life, being an author, right? Writing chapters, what do you want to happen? What do you like? You know what I mean? You got free will to say, okay, even though my story started off like this, right? Because how does an amazing story start off? With some type of turmoil, with some type of tragedy, with some type of letdown, with some type of somebody was fucked up, right? Or it wouldn't be a story. It wouldn't, right? So it has to be somebody let somebody down. Somebody didn't do something right. I was raised in the wrong neighborhood. I was raised here. Whatever the case may be, it has to start off with some type of dire circumstances, right? Or it wouldn't be heroic. And we're all heroes, right? We're all heroic in a sense, right? We haven't really honed in on our skill to develop our origin story yet, though. That's the problem. We don't know what our origin stories are. We all have superheroes and superpowers. We talked about that a little bit last weekend. My superpower is motivating people to see things in people that they may not even see themselves. My other superpower is to see things ahead of before they happen. And people, oh, you crazy, homie. You can't. Man, listen, man. You know how many cants I've heard over my lifetime that are finished? Right. Now let that sink in, right? How many cants I've heard over a lifetime that are completed and done? So people telling you what you can't do is subjective and it's their opinion and leave them at that. Now, you and God, y'all got to get cracking, right? You got to start putting down the outline of what you want to happen in your life. If you're going to write this book, right? People always talking about it, man. I want to do this. Have you written it down? Have you started with chapter 1? Have you even addressed what happened in your life and really like dissected the miracles that took place even in those tumultuous times? Have you really did a real thorough inventory of all the lessons that were taught and learned and who you ran into? These are all characters and part of your story. The people that were agitators, the people that were, antagonists, all these things and characters. Your life is a book and you have total control over it. Total control over it. But most people don't write it down. They let other people write their chapters for them. They got ghostwriters that they don't even know writing, man, telling stories. Man, how you gonna tell my story? But if you come out without telling your own story, people will tell it for you. Oh man, you was with Duane, this and this and that. Nobody can tell you anything about me because I'm constantly evolving. They don't know what I'm up to next, man. You might be talking about my move 20 moves ago. That's fine. You know what I'm saying? I get it. I mean, you're not updated. That's fine. You will be though. And if you don't, it doesn't matter, right? My ego's so much in check right now. This is the thing, and it's difficult. This is the most difficult thing, is to keep your ego from telling people what you think they should know, right? And that includes the successful parts of your life. You ain't got to let them know everything. Let them know some stuff, but certain things you like, man. Hey, man, I don't need you to put any suggestions or plant any doubt in my head. And there's a lot of people would do that once you start including them in on chapters. Once you start running chapters by them. Let me run this by you, homie. For what? What you running it by him for or her? They know anything about that? They know what your past. They can write an old chapter, not these new ones, right? You should have 3 different points. Here's my past, right? Here's, you write 3 chapters on your past, right? You and God start to write that out. All right, 3 chapters on my past to recognize the lessons in those, right? Because everything that you went through in the past, there's lessons all up in there if we pay attention and dissect it right. Then you may move to the middle part, right? The transition, because transition, when you make the transition in life, right? That's a really important part that I think a lot of us overlook and really don't document well. Because in that transitions, there were some things that made you suggested people that came into your lives. I remember when I first started looking at surfing, there was a guy who had just graduated with his MBA from Pepperdine, and he was like, "Man, I was so stressed out. I just finished." And it was also right before I started grad school, so there was 2 lessons in that, right? And I ran into him at the beach. He just got out. He said, "Man, it feels fantastic, man. You got to do it." He said, "I started surfing because I was so stressed out and I just graduated. Now I'm out here, da 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 da." And I'm like, damn, he doing 2 things that I want. He got his MBA and he's surfing. So I'm like, okay, God sending me messages. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, all right. But those are the types of people that are part of your transition. And you need to document those because those are angels. If you're trying to figure out whether God's still around or miracles are popping and angels still around, you got to document it, man. You've ran across them already. You ran across him already. So don't start doubting God because he's already sent them. You just ain't paying attention, homie. You just ain't seeing them hop around you. They all around you trying to shoot you blessings, blocking shit. You know what I'm saying? Getting stuff through, right? So then you go to part 3, the future, what you see for yourself. How do I want this story to continue? I didn't say end, right? How do I want this story to continue? Because you have to be part of that. You and God are the only ones that can see the future. The enemy knows about all this other stuff. So he's going to try to affect the way that you write these last few chapters. He's going to try to affect your legacy, the way you talk to your kids, the way you deal with your kids, or whatever the case may be. But you can correct that shit at any time. You can turn it around anytime. There's no time limits on that. Right? The only condition is you have to write every day. You have to write every day. And if you don't write every day, the enemy has a suggested agenda for you. It's long, potent, effective, affect other people. So you got if you're not writing your actual rough draft, it could be a rough draft. This is stuff that everything doesn't have to be finalized. What's going on, Texas? Appreciate you tapping in. South Central, man. Y'all in my heart, man. I really appreciate you cats, man. Sincerely, man. So, yeah, man, you gotta write every day. You gotta write it down with confidence that it's gonna happen. And not to the sense of contributing to that larger goal, right? Because everybody has that larger goal that you and God had an agreement that it's gonna crack, right? You've already asked for it. You don't have to ask for it again. I told you guys, just like my kids, once you ask me for some, if you ask me again, that means you don't trust me, right? Or you don't think I'm gonna do it for you. You don't have to remind me, man. One time I got it. I care that much about my kids. They only have to tell me something once. And may not even have to say nothing. They ain't gonna that's how God works. You could say it once. And matter of fact, you may not even need to say anything. You just may look at it and he knows, oh, he likes that. Okay, well, I'll give it to him. If it's right for him. You feel what I'm saying? And that's how he works. The same way parents work with their kids, the ones who really, really love them. You feel what I'm saying? The ones who want to bless them and see them prosper and thrive in life, right? They give them things, not everything they want, but things they need at the time they need it. God can give you whatever you want. I promise you that. Everything, man. Just ask for it and write it down. To and the thing about the write it down, the reason why I keep stressing that is because it does something, right? It puts something on your mind. It's like a contractual. You don't even have to. There was books I read not too long ago. That a matter of fact, it was in Esther Hicks' books, the Deliberate Intentions. It talked about where you write stuff down. You write a list, and you can leave it. You don't need it. Doesn't you don't need to carry it. You can write down this. Blah blah blah. I want this. I want that. This is gonna happen, and not I want to try. Right? Because I was just listening to another book that said if you saying I want to try, that indicates that you lack. That indicates you don't have. I am. I already am. You already everything you need. Trust and believe that one, homie. You may need to get a couple things here and there, but you everything. Everything that God intended for you to be, you are that. With extras, right? But we're almost like that. What are they called? Escape rooms, where like these things are hidden. They're not obvious. Our jewels and gems often need to be discovered through exploration, right? Through exploring things, trying things out, poking the box, not staying with one thing, trying, break it, see if it works. I'm all for that. I'm not doing it dangerously because the thing about it is if you go about something with hesitation or some type of, being a little bit afraid, you're probably not going to be successful. Or you're gonna fall. You got to walk up there with confidence, like a diving board. You walk out there on a diving board timid or afraid, you're gonna bust your tail. But you go out there and own it, man. Same thing. So claim and own your stuff, right? So write it down. What exactly do you want? I've seen things, man. What's your superpower? What can you predict? Man, I've seen how powerful this mind is, predicting everything from a couple companies that was kind of going under right now. I kind of predicted, like, man, that doesn't seem like it's really gonna fly. And sure enough, I'm like, man. So when you see you have some of these skills and abilities, don't second guess like, oh, that was coincidental. Oh, that was just, oh, that was just lucky. How about that was just God, right? We can't chuck everything up to being serendipitous, right? Being lucky and not God, man. Why we don't give him the credit? Why not? I'm not talking about man's creation. I'm talking about the real one, the one who created everything and creates our opportunities in abundance every day. Everybody who I've seen, man, they said just believe in stuff. You got to feel it. You got to have the right feeling. You can't go in doubting somebody. I'm trying to think. It was one of my relatives or something was like, man, I guess some of this stuff. I guess you could believe. Why not? I'm like, that's not the attitude. It's never gonna work. You got to believe in it wholeheartedly, even when nobody's dancing to your song. You got to still understand and believe that, man, this song is a number one. I don't care what anybody says. And if at some point it will be, you know what I'm saying? You may need to remaster it. You may need to get somebody on the hook. But at the same time, it's going to be on the radio, whatever your dream and goal is. And it may not be that song. It may be another one. But you got to believe, I'm trying to tell you, even when it's ugly, because it gets ugly, I'm going to tell you like this. There's certain days when enemy just like, you know what? I got a full throttle arsenal and I'm about to come at this cat. The other day, as soon as I got it, we got a baddie. And this is why it's so important, critically important, to set your intentions for the day before you interact with anything. And let me tell you why. Other day, as soon as I get up, I don't get a chance to set my intentions, right? So my foundation's not there. You know, I had a good night, feeling good, and this is when the enemy catches you off guard. You feeling good, you like, okay, stuff's going smooth, things are looking up, I don't have too much to worry about on that. Then they catch you with this subtle stuff. Boom. And it just spirals. So it started off with an email, spiraled off into something else, and just snowballed. And I had to look at my wife like, man, he got me. This fool got me. You know, and you got to give credit where credit is due. It's like somebody crack you. You're like, okay, yeah, you popped me. That almost knocked my block off, dog. Right. And that's how he ride. And that caught me off guard. Email. And many of you guys, you get texts. My son, he caught my son off guard. Something had happened. I'm like, damn. Right when you don't have your intention set. So that now, as opposed to just think if you're talking about like a tug of war, right? So if you already over here on the positive, right? You set your intentions on the positive, it's gonna take him a lot longer to pull you over to the negative from being there. But if you start yourself off right in the middle and you really don't have no foundation, all you got to do is yank you hard enough and your ass is way over there. Right. So think about that in terms of setting your intentions, right? That you already offsetting this fool. It's like catching him as soon as he coming outside, taking the trash out and stealing on his ass. That's the equivalent to it. You know what I'm saying? That's the equivalent to setting your intentions. You don't even give him chance to react. He has no idea what to do. From this point throughout the day, he's chasing you, not you running from him to try to catch you because you so on purpose. You feel what I'm saying? Once you on purpose, then he like, man, I gotta figure out. I can't. I don't know his next move. Him and God did that. I don't know what to do. But if I catch him where he don't have any moves, the art of suggestion that the enemy has and what he plants and he knows what triggers you. He knows what triggers you. You don't think he's you his pride and joy of study. He's been studying you since you came out of you were a miracle. You don't think he's paying it? He like, damn, here go another miracle guy for real. Now I gotta study this cat. And sure enough, he studies you. He knows your ups, downs, faults, ugliness, shit in the dark. He knows everything. So does God, right? The enemy exploits it. God uses it to power you up. Two different things going on. So when something comes around and you feeling guilt, that's not a God emotion. That's something the enemy throwing at you. Guilt, I feel guilty for. You know what I'm saying? Stuff happens. You wasn't in the right state of mind. The enemy got you, threw your ass off. So be it. But don't continue. Because what happens is a lot of people continue. And they continue because they're like, fuck, we talked about that, right? You listen to my episode. What was that? With Cal State. I'm like, well, they talked about that. You get a case of the fuckers. And then you start it spirals more and more out of control. Then you're done, right? So you can't get to that point to where he catches you off guard. You got to be on purpose. And it starts with writing it down. Your co-author's waiting for you to deliver pages every day. Tell me what you want so that I can make this happen, right? We can go on this book tour, right? Because wherever you want to go, all the cities you're talking about in here, it's a book tour. Where you trying to go, man? I can't wait to go to Chicago, man. Taste some of that Chicago deep dish. I'm gonna go over here. I want to go to Write it down. Man, I want to go to LA, man. I want to check this out. Da, 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 da. Write it down. I want to get this car. That write it. Only agreement. That's it. Write it down. Put it somewhere. Get a little tablet. This is me. This is my. You can what I call it is my book of positive intentions. And I start many days I can. There's certain the days that I don't do it, I could write another entry that shows you what the enemy did to me that day because I didn't have my intention set. So I can't, man, I cannot stress it. And if you don't, if you, it's the thing. If you don't believe it, homie, what's going on, Sammy? ATL, I see you. If you don't believe it, it's not gonna happen. It really isn't. It's like that magic that you have to believe in. Right? It's the fairy tale, it's the boogie, whatever you want to call it. It's that thing that you have to believe in. And the thing about it is, that's a real thing to somebody, right? Like a religion, whatever the case may be. These are real things to people. So it all starts with belief. Then controls the body, then controls the environment. What do you believe in? Believe God can make it work for you. You think you can make it crack? You think he will give you that? He's giving, and let me tell you something. And I don't want to sound like I'm bragging because I'm not. He will give you everything you ask for. Prime example. Certain things are inevitable that you can't change, losing people, whatever the case may be. But everything else he will give you. I promise you, he will give you. And I'm not to, that's the thing, man. This is, I, I don't know what else to tell you besides, man, figure out something you want. And the way that you expand your horizon is by leaving your environment. That's a tough one for people, leaving their environment. It's hard because it's what you used to. It's easy. Set up, I'm already good. I'm set up like this. I'm not going to leave my neighborhood. Love my people, everybody around me, my family, bunch of cousins, and da 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 da. How you going to learn? Your family sometimes will limit you, right? Unless you're deep and everybody kind of doing their own thing successfully. Outside of that, you're going to have to get out that circle really to see what time it is. And not to try to get into circles to try to befriend everybody and do all that stuff, but to get to the point to where you're exposed to game, exposed to new ideas. They stretch that mind of yours. Because right now, depending on what situation you in, depending on where you've been, depending on how you grown up, your mind might be extraordinarily limited. And it sounds crazy and harsh. It does. But the more you get outside, the more, and right now we got the internet. So like you don't need to go somewhere physically, right? You can go there and learn about it. Learn about different things. I'm learning about just random stuff. I look stuff up. Like I looked up rice-a-roni. Yeah, yeah, by leaving you, because this is the thing about family is just like the best book I could tell people to read on family is The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson, because it talks about that. It talks about leaving familiar because your family is used to whatever. If you used to pee in the bed, they still see that. They don't see you as a professional. Oh, I remember you used to. That's all they have. Especially if you compromise, like, why? What's wrong with you, right? Especially if it's like that, then they really gonna be looking at you side eye. But that's not your problem, though. That's the thing, right? But sometimes because they will try to remind you, and sometimes it's not even them. It's just our belief, right? It's just whatever we believe that they believe about us limits us, right? Because now we thinking, oh, they think that, man, please. I'm not to that point. I'm always open and willing to help my relatives. I tell them all the time, I'm like, listen, man, I learned a lot of this stuff for us, whether you realize it or not. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing it for us. Everything. I'm not selfish with none of this stuff. Whatever I learned, retail marketing, web analytics, Google, you got just hit me on a day where I got time and you can learn whatever I know. Never been like that with information. You know what I'm saying? Now, other people may be more to the point to where they hoard the information. More be to the point to where they want to sell game or stun on you. Professional stunners never tell you the how, always tell you the look. But that's them. You know what I'm saying? The older you get, and see, like, I'm 46. The older I'm getting, the more like life it makes sense. It does. It just you understand it, right? You understand who people are. You let them allow them to be who they are, right? You don't judge. You try your best not to, and you try to be more understanding and compassionate. Because when you do that, right, you lose the ego. You're not tripping. The ego will get you life. It'll get you a divorce. It'll get you lonely. All that. The ego is the enemy, man. Straight up. And I know that there's a book on that. I think the ego is the enemy. There's a book on that. I'm pretty sure. But that's real. You know, when you look at it, selfless, man. Walk away from it. You know, what do you really need? Humble yourself. Right? And it sounds crazy, but what do you really want to do? You know, I thought about that. I said, well, damn, you know, if I got all this money, what do I really want to do? So we go a couple places, but I'm not big on trying to fly and all that stuff because I'm not, you know, it's not comfortable for me. We'll get the first class, yeah, but I'm not trying to be up in the air for no 14 hours, dog. I did that already. You know what I'm saying? I'm been to football games. I don't need to be sideline. I've been to Laker games. I don't need to be courtside. It looks uncomfortable, right? Just like practicality is out the window. I don't need the stunt anymore. You know what the stunt got me? Damn near case, um, envy, jealousy, no prize. There was no prize for stunting. None. And if anybody, only time they give you a prize for stunting is if you put your shit in a lowrider shop. Other than that, you're gonna get envy. Right? You're gonna get envy from the cat who damn near has something like that, or his girl, or vice versa, looking at your cats who trying to count your pockets. You know what I mean? They all, oh man, the D's this, oh he got that over there. Okay, I heard he got, and they them and the rest of the remedial math cats is really trying to do math on you, right? That's what stunting gets you. You know what I mean? People calling you braggadocious. People saying, oh, bringing up your worst story. You ever see somebody that does that, brings up your worst story constantly? You know, this is, you know, once you've been stunting for a while, you could write a dissertation on haters, the all levels of them. Right? You can go deep, quote stuff, provide examples, cats, levels to it, prison hating, noodle hating. I can go on and on about the different levels of hating. Plug hating, your plug hating on you. You know what I'm saying? Like just females hating on you. Stunting didn't do anything right. Police hating on you, trying to, you know, tear up your car, throw your speaker wires all up. It didn't do anything. It made me feel good for a few minutes, hitting the corners, knocking off some alarms and shit like that. But outside of that, I'm like, man, what am I really doing? Showing everybody that, look at me, check me out. I got more than you. You need to be like me. Look, me. And I don't do much. And you'll see the more stuff you get, the more money you get, the more season you get, the less that shit moves you. You're like, man, I get like I just excited. We going to Disney on ice with my daughter. That's you know what I mean? That's where I'm like, I'm excited about that. What we gonna get? You know what I mean? Who we gonna see? That's what's important to me. And I'm speaking only for myself. You know what I mean? I've graduated. I'm okay with where I am. I'm not trying to play catch up. I'm not trying to get nothing back. The game don't owe me shit and I don't owe it nothing. Fair exchange, a walk off. See you, homie. Or not. Right? And that's the deal. And that was the pivotal part. That's we talking about chapters. That was when my chap, man, I'm good on this shit. I'm tired of dealing with clowns. I'm tired of dealing with middlemen. I'm tired of dealing with cats who mad for some prison shit. I'm tired of them charging us every December and January and fucking Christmas up. I'm being frank though. That's what was driving me crazy. You know what I'm saying? I'm speaking real, and I'm like, man, this is crazy. I'm tired of, the up how do we, I gotta do all this stuff to get a house and figure out the income and deal with these shady people. Man, this is for the birds. God, that life has to be more than this. And then I started telling myself what I wanted. I saw Eddie Murphy in Boomerang. I said, I want that. I'm just telling you where you get the inspiration from, homie. It be from the random spots. Like you could see something on TV and be like, "Oh, I want that. I want the crib, you know what I'm saying, the flat screen, the working in LA, and shit, and don't think it didn't happen. I was Century City, them same offices Eddie Murphy was clowning around in. Work for Stevie. You know what I'm saying? Like this shit is real. So, and I remember in college sitting there watching that. It's in my journal. It's in one of my first journals. You could see it. And I talk about him, and I'm like, man, if this dude can do it with this handicap, who am I to sit here and complain about my situation? And in the next, what, 3 years, I was seeing the cat every day, signing my checks. You talking about God in full circle shit? Man, what? So that's what I'm saying. Like, when somebody try to tell you something like, if somebody like, oh man, the boogeyman don't exist, and you like, man, me and the boogeyman be kicking it every night, man. I don't know what you talking about. But the boogeyman stay around the corner. He draw this. That's how convinced I am with God. I'm like, man, you don't have to believe shit. That's not my problem. But I'll tell you this, once you figure out who's who and what he can do, you have a different understanding and a different understand of first of all of God, and then two of life and what your position is and why you're here. And it's not to accumulate shit. Trust me. It's not. I know that's a shocker. Like, man, damn, really? We ain't supposed to just stack stuff? No, you're not supposed to just stack bread. I don't know what, and just big stack. No, you're not just supposed to do that. You can do that, but there's consequences and there's stuff that comes with that too. What you're supposed to do is the thing that makes you feel warm and fuzzy, right? And something, oh man, that makes me feel warm and fuzzy. Doesn't. It's a piece of paper. It's a legal tender. It shouldn't make you feel shit. Right? So I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that, but I'm saying if you let something like that dictate who you are, then you always gonna be a slave to it, right? You're always gonna be a slave to it, and you shouldn't be. Legacy can't leave. What can you leave? I can leave some opportunities. I can leave some money. Already got that set up in place. But what else can I leave? I can leave ideas. Man, we was cooking this weekend. You know what I'm saying? We were cooking this weekend. The whole family was out there, missing a few people. But the kids are taking pride in it. And they understand it. The youngest, the 4-year old, she was taking tickets and delivering sodas. She was working sodas, and she was working the window, passing tickets. Here's the ticket. Where's her ticket? And was checking me, tasting people, giving them their stuff, knew what color. She wanted to work. She's inspired. And they was all the older ladies high. Hey, look at her. That's what I'm working on, homie. And I don't want I've done that already. Like I said, I know what stunting gets you. Had a cutty, had the Elko, didn't mean anything. Who cares? All of it got old and rusted. That's things. Thoughts and ideas don't get old and rusted. Inspiration, writing stuff down, leaving your journals specifically for your grandkids and their grandkids to see. Look at how my grandpa used to write. Look at what he was writing about. Look at what he did. Look. This is what he started. This is what he was thinking when he started it. These are the trials and tribulations that he went through. Oh, him and my grandma. Oh, they was doing that. Oh, okay. Look. Oh, and this is when Kingston was born. Oh, okay, this is when I was born. And they could lay out their whole thing because I'm documenting it all. Right? I'm writing it down. I'm doing things like this, podcast, videos, documenting everything. Why? So I leave a legacy, instructions, inspiration, right? I see people showing pictures of their cats. Oh, my people, I know my dad taught me, right? It ain't about pictures and me showing him and da 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 da. It's about what type of person he made me become, right? It's about what he inspired, what he got lit about, right? Whenever we succeeded in business, that's what pumped him up. So that's the legacy I'm working on, right? That's a chapter in my life. My dad passing. You have some of those chapters too, because the thing about it is when you write your book, right? When you talk about your life, you don't know who gets inspired by which chapter. So there's no reason to leave any out. There aren't no bad ones, right? Your entire history is just that. The past is the past. Should be different chapters within that past. The pivotal moment is the pivotal moment, right? You should talk about the characters, the feelings, because when you're transitioning, man, there's a whole set of feelings that comes with that too. By yourself, the homies ain't calling you no more, right? Because you ain't got the ticket. So your phone ain't ring. When you was a D boy, right? Man, I need to get away from this shit, right? As soon as you leave the game, your phone don't ring anymore. All you get is a bill. You might get a text from your girl. That's about it. Ain't nobody else really calling you no more. Your phone used to be ringing off the hook. I remember my phone used to be boom, every page back when the pages was popping, and I'm constant. Then when that happens, you make that transition, you by yourself. And another reason when you by yourself is because you can't take none of your homies with you. And then you don't know enough cats on the other side of the fence really to get down with them. They ain't really trying to embrace you. So there's this moment, right? And in that book of the Dream Giver, they call it the wastelands, right? Where you so far gone that you ain't really going back, but you don't know what on this other side looks like either. So you got that dilemma popping, right? And that's crazy, right? Like, damn, man, I can't. So those pivotal parts, when you talk about that, right? When you focus on that, when you dig into that and really take out the lessons, what did I learn from that? So when you see somebody else going through a pivotal moment, right? I see you making that transition, man. Here's what I felt, and here's what I did about that. We're supposed to be angels for other people. If we got angels in our lives, what you think we supposed to be doing? Returning the dang favor, right? We have to serve somebody else as well. So if angels are popping in and out of our life, you need to slide into somebody else's. We all doing God's work. You either doing God's work or the other work. And if you're ignoring it, then you're doing the other work. So whose lives are we changing? Who are we inspiring? Who are we showing game to? I'm putting my work in on a weekly basis. I don't know who I'm touching. I don't know when I'm gonna touch him. And it doesn't matter to me because it's not about me. Right? If it was about me, I'd be counting how many people that God says, man, if none show up, you did the work. I'm cool with that. You did what I asked you to do. Yes, I did. Was your ego involved? No, it wasn't. Cool. What you need? You know what I'm saying? Don't need nothing. Just need to continue delivering what you asking me to deliver. You giving me everything I've ever asked for. That's the kind of relationship me and God's got, man. I'm in thankful mode, man. And it doesn't take much. I'm like, man, you dude, you've over delivered. You've over delivered. And sometimes it takes us a step back, man. The book that I'm listening to, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, was fantastic. Finished it, right? I got another book. It's like 40 minutes, but I'll share that with you guys next week. But yeah, just finished Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Fantastic. Last 3 chapters, life changing, right? Life changing. And a student recommended it. So I'm telling you guys, man, read it if you can. But more importantly, start writing the chapters of your life. How do you do that? Told you what I use on a day-to-day basis. God will give you whatever you want, but you got to start writing it down. And the thing about it is, as difficult it is to do, the discipline to show God, hey, we're on the same path together. We're going to finish this book because I'm writing every day, right? And I'm confirming, man, my belief is getting up because the things that I'm writing about are actually coming true, coming to fruition. So the more I write this stuff down convincingly, first thing in the morning, you cannot be wavered, man. If you let the enemy get even pry in with any suggestions, you done. You're done. I'm telling you, man, that dude is crafty. So have it close to you. So the first thing that you do is either see a loved one that's going to inspire you, or you be able to roll over, start writing it out. I'm gonna go down and get breakfast and brush my teeth and talk about how good you're gonna do it. Right? I'm gonna brush my teeth, excellent. Then I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna have a fantastic breakfast. After that, I'm gonna walk and do this, and then I'm gonna go exercise. Then I'm gonna come back and you just gotta write it down step by step. I promise you, a day in a life, right? Similar to that kind of exercise, a day in a life, and you write that down every single day of what you want to happen. And I promise you, it will. Key, one caveat though, you don't believe it, and you're not patient enough. Patience is the key too. Belief and patience, magic. If you're not patient enough and you don't believe really deep down inside, you're not questioning, not telling everybody else, like, yeah, I believe it. But deep down inside, you really questioning God, it's not going to happen. But if you do, watch the magic. That will conclude our weekly tap in for this week. Hope you really enjoyed it. Again, our weekly book would be the Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joey. I forget his name, but you can look at the previous episode and check it out. Have a wonderful, happy appreciation and Thanksgiving holiday. Appreciate the people that are around you. Appreciate your opportunities. Appreciate your loved ones. Appreciate podcasts. Appreciate just your ability to drink cold water. Because, homie, everybody ain't got it like that. I'm tapping out.